Dragons. Everyone knows about these creatures of legend that become a staple of the fantasy genre. From Smaug to Mushu, the myths, legends, and stories about the dragons that these characters are drawn from range from all around the world. This made me question, why does everyone have dragons? Firstly, what is a dragon? The word that we have today comes from the Greek word drakon, which was originally used to mean a large serpent, but now basically means a mythological reptile. Dragons come in so many different forms depending on where they originate from. There is typically considered to be two main categories of dragons in mythology, Western dragons and Eastern dragons, but in reality there are many more. This is because depending on where the myth originated from, the characteristics of the dragon changes. Eastern dragons are typically portrayed as four-legged, wingless, serpentine creatures, often having other aspects of animals combined with them, such as deer antlers. While Western dragons are typically winged, horned, lizard-like, and able to breathe fire. We can find examples of each type of dragon in pop culture, Eastern dragons being represented through Mushu from Mulan and ferocious Dindral and Nidra from the Legend of Zelda series, as well as Western dragons such as Smaug from The Hobbit and Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. Dragons originating from China are typically believed to be forces for good and representing good fortune. Many believe to live in water, bringing rain, which then extends to fruits. However, there could be two towns who broadly believe in the same dragon doing the same thing, however have two different views on it. For example, a town at the end of the stream could view the dragon as good, as it brings rain which stops the drought. However, a town at the beginning of the stream could view the dragon as evil, as it brings rain which causes flooding. One theory of how these dragons got their design and origins is because of rainbow and lightning. As these dragons typically are associated with the rain, which comes in thunderstorms so you can see the lightning there, and rainbows, which follows the rain. Additionally, rainbows can also be seen at the end of waterfalls, which is another area where dragons are believed to live. Some aspects of Chinese dragons spread to surrounding countries, which then got changed and altered over time, becoming new iterations of dragons. For example, Japanese dragons have origins from China and have similar symbolism of being water deities and having a similar depiction. But Japanese dragons have different stories and histories as the dragons from China, as they were introduced into Japanese culture and Shintoism. Many times, Eastern dragons are also linked with royalty and power in the kingdom. For example, Chinese emperors are said to be the son of dragons. Another case is Bhutan, who has a dragon on their flag. This is because Bhutan's own name can roughly be translated to Dragon Kingdom, which is why it's on their flag. Western dragons are believed to have different origins to Eastern dragons though. Unlike most Eastern dragons, these dragons are not seen as good, but as evil monsters and beasts. Some of these dragons are believed to have an origin from the myths from the Middle Eastern area. Where snakes are big and deadly, a dragon or serpent would be a symbol of evil. One notable case being the Egyptian god Apepi, the great serpent of the underworld. There is then also Tiamat, which some may recognise from Dungeons & Dragons as the queen of chromatic dragons, but Tiamat originates from the Babylonian myth. There were two parts to mythology, the first being a creation goddess and the second being the embodiment of chaos, often depicted as either a giant serpent or four-legged scaly winged dragon. The Greeks and later Romans did accept the Middle Eastern depiction of serpents as being evil, but then also had examples of serpents being benevolent beings. However, in Europe, the depiction of dragons as evil beings persisted due to the widespread of Christianity among Europe, linking the dragons with the serpent in Genesis. This then cemented the symbolism of dragons being sinful and evil. There are then also the Germanic dragons, which are the winged, typically four-legged, fire-breathing dragons. One belief on how this type of dragon originated was from comets flying in the sky. This is why many would be associated with fire, and why many of them would live in layers underground, because people would see a flaming object fly into the ground, which they presumed to be where it lived. These creatures were typically seen as monsters, but also occasionally symbols of nobility, power, war, or strength. And many times, dragons were used to make heroes seen as more powerful by having slayed a dragon in their stories. Examples of this symbolism can be seen on two flags. The first being the Welsh flag, as a dragon is meant to represent the fearlessness of the Welsh people. The other is Malta's flag. In the crest, there can be seen a dragon being defeated by St. George. This is because it is believed that St. George slayed a dragon. Yes, it's small, but it is technically a dragon, so I figured I'd include it. There is then also the rainbow serpent from Australia. Although not originating from the same area as eastern dragons, it seems to have a similar depiction. It is highly likely to have a similar origin to eastern dragons, being that they came from rainbows. There are then also other Dreamtime creatures that could be considered dragons that we do not know the origins of, such as Adordina, which is a gecko in the Garden of Uluru. Dragon myths originating in North America do not have a definitive option, but there are three main theories of where they came from. The first is that draconic myths from Eastern Asia travelled to the Americas through the Russia-Alaska region and then evolved further over time. Another is that the stories of dragons came across with the Vikings when they went to the Americas, but this is not that likely. And the third is that dragons in the Americas were created naturally over time, but this is not certain. The first two theories came around because of the similar depictions of these dragons being with those two. Like Eastern dragons, many North American dragons are those of giant serpents with a relation to either lakes or water. But they do also have themes of European dragons of being evil, often spitting poison or fire. Gasynditha is a dragon of this type. It is believed to have been created after seeing meteors, as this dragon is described to soar through the sky trailing fire. Additionally, there's also the Pisa bird dragon, which is believed to have quite a different origin from both Western and Eastern dragons, and visually would be close to either a griffin or chimera, being as it's a combination of multiple different animals. One theory of how this dragon came to be was that each animal part was taken to represent its meaning, together being combined to make one symbolic thing. Central and South American dragons do have also a few different theories of where they came from. One idea is that myths of Eastern dragons migrated down across the Asia-Alaska, down North America, and then down to Central South America. This is because of the serpentine nature of the dragons being similar. However, Eastern dragons are typically scaled, wingless water spirits, but many Central and South American dragons are feathered, winged, fiery gods. So their similarities could just be a coincidence in the aspects that they are similar. But there is still a chance they came from this area, but got largely changed over time. A theory of why many Central and South American dragons were feathered is due to the large number of bright-coloured tropical birds. One of these such dragons is a Quetzalcoatl, with the word coming from the ancient natal word Quetzali, which means long green feather. Now Quetzal, which now means a bird of the same colour. Also combining that with the word Coatl, meaning snake. This name was originally used by Aztecs, but other cultures had other names all meaning feathered snake. There's then also other types of dragons in Central and South America, such as Amaru, which is similar to a chimera, being a combination of different animals. When considering all these dragons though, it is important to remember that in most cases it is people just trying to make sense of the world with little information available to them. As we currently have animals alive today, such as crocodiles, Komodo dragons and anacondas, as well as many other large reptiles, it's really not that far-fetched to see where these dragons could have come from. Also, combine that with dinosaur fossils and other fossils of the like, which could be easily connected to be dragons, especially if these fossils were found in locations where they believe dragons would live, such as in water or underground, like I said, where Western dragons are believed to have their lairs. Also, magic is just science we don't understand, of people trying to make a meaning of what they do not know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If I got anything incorrect, please let me know in the comments below, as I'm always wanting to educate myself.